I am the law. Let's take a look at the Hiya Toys 1/12 scale Judge Dredd. I honestly have been so excited about showing off this figure. This was a last second purchase at San Diego Comic-Con. I wish the story itself would be a funnier one to tell, but the actual moment of picking this up was super awesome because I happened to be walking around with D Amazing and Toy Father and No Chewing and just having an absolute blast, hitting up SHF and Mezco Boost and just talking toys. And lo and behold, we found where the Judge Dredd exclusive was hiding. And yes, it was an instant buy for me. And the thing about it is it's such an interesting figure. I keep going back. I really enjoy playing and messing around with him. I'm going to walk you through all of the things that I find to be super fascinating because I'm really interested in these choices. And in my last video, I talked about the feeling of a toy as a bootleg. And that's what I want to start off for, the feel of this toy in hand. So the feeling of this toy is really exceptional. The material I'm not crazy about in terms of longevity and even some of the stiffness, which you might see here in terms of affecting the articulation. There's ways around that. There's also going to be issues with creasing in this material, but it does feel good. And in talking with the Chamba at San Diego Comic-Con, when I picked this up and he was messing with it, he goes, man, I wish this material was made out of that Vapor tracksuit. Literally, just think about the Vapor windbreaker. And that material, I think, would have still looked amazing, but then you wouldn't have so much of a worry as to the little creasing and things that are going to happen on this. And like I said, long term, I am a little bit nervous about how many years you get out of this guy. But for the price point, to be honest, there's nothing about it that I think is going to deteriorate right away. It is just going to be a matter of trying to be cautious and careful in your handling of him. But he really looks so good. The paintwork is great. Now, I don't know if I did this to the helmet. I think maybe I did. I haven't been doing a good job protecting the head sculpts in the container because it does come with this sweet little accessory box, which we will get into in the accessory section. But otherwise, the feel is really awesome. So he feels high end. And then the other thing I wanted to point out in regards to the feel are these rubber boots. Even the gloves too. Even the gloves here and the hands are that rubber, but obviously there's a peg here. But what's super fascinating, and I really do love messing around with them, is that the pegs are coated. Like the whole legs, the outfit, everything is coated in this rubber boot. And it's so neat because you get all of the pivoting and articulation, but again, in this rubber feel. So it's just really fascinating. It's a cool toy to be screwing around with. So to wrap up, the feeling of this feels premium, feels interesting, and I'm into it. Very cool vibe of this toy. But now, let's take a look at the other aspects of what makes figures great, and that's the accessories and articulation. So from an articulation standpoint, you will get Mezco-esque movement again out of the thing. I'm sure inside you'd be able to do a 360, but because of the shoulder pads and the actual outfit itself, you will still get basically T-pose height. There we go. Get the double jointed knees in there so he can get to that. Now, my little workaround, that leg kick action is to fold and then lift, and that seems to hold that up pretty well. Double jointed elbows. So ultimately, you won't run into any articulation issues. You're really going to be able to get to do exactly what you want to do with no real hindrance, because you can even see how the shoulder and the shoulder pads work. They're on pegs. So these can actually pop off which is really nice. And that's going to help with the cloak that comes, because this is the Cursed Earth edition, and that is the only difference from the main release. So I just want to show you that while he did come with a cloak on, I wanted to immediately take that off to see if I could get the classic look. And fortunately, Hiya really did think that through really well. I love that both of these are on these pegs. Obviously, then you won't be able to do much with him without, but why would you ever want to take this off? These are such big parts of the look of this character overall. So yeah, they just port right on there. The cloak has a hole cut out for that, so it, when you want it on, it really stays on there. And that's how I was able to get that off, by popping off this bad boy. So yes, Articulation, you will be happy with it. Like I said, it has a little bit of restrictiveness, but not so much on that side. So I've been messing with them. I've been loosening it up, working that material. It will still do the leg kick, the reverse leg kick on the right leg. But as I said, that's been my little workaround. I don't know why that particular aspect worked. Maybe because it's the material. So I totally get it. The material is pulling down on the joint and the articulation, but by bending it, it's adjusting the material and allowing for it to stay up that way. So like I said, no real hindrance other than that goofy little super kick action. But he's neat. He's so good. He's so cool. So getting back to the look of him, I'm so bummed about what I did here. If I did it, I don't even know. Because honestly now, I'm noticing that it's kind of rough. So it might not have been me that did this, because it does look scratched up a little bit. That seems like it could be a relatively easy fix with some navy blue paint, but I'm gonna have to match that up. And that's something else, because this is the helmet, so the helmet is painted over. It's clear. It's that clear plastic, so it's the visor plastic that everything else is then painted on. And then the head sculpt is what goes inside said helmet. So the helmet is made of the clear resin or plastic. That's very cool. But as for accessories, let's finish talking about the head sculpts here. So there's number one. As you can see, all beautiful blue painted throughout. This is the one that's, more angry and yelling. And then I like this one too, because it's got some nice blood effects on the teeth, like he's just been through it. So that one's really great. And I'm not sure. See, I don't want to say that that's because of this, which is the accessory case it comes with, which is so awesome. I really love how they put that on here. The fact that you can store all your accessories. And it came with this whole stand attachment. Like, that's really rad. That's really awesome. So for keeping everything together, for being able to display on a shelf. So I know some third-party stuff that's done this too, so well done, Hiya. But that's why I'm thinking, or not sure, if it's because those heads were bouncing around in there, that paint, but that seems like very rough. I think I just missed that. And that's unfortunate. And that's a little QC thing. But once again, I'm not going to cry about it, because I got this at San Diego Comic-Con. That's really awesome. And it's a blue paint. I could fix that. That's within my skill set. In addition to that, you have this really rad bloody baseball bat. You get this sick, huge blaster, which he has a specific hand, like trigger hand, to hold that one, because this one is massive. Over here, he's got the sidearm, which is another great one. And that's what goes in over here. You know what? I'm also going to factor in chest magnet as an accessory, because that is a really sweet feature. I love that with the badge, that can come off and dangle, but it's got the magnet, as you see. How cool. And then you end up getting 2, 4, 6, so 8 individual hands. So 4 sets of hands, which are really all very helpful. You got the fists. This is for the aerosol or spray can aerosol. I'm not totally familiar. I know somebody had mentioned that in the Cursed Earth comic book, there is an actual intention behind this. I'm going to say spray paint, but there's a specific hand to do that. And then each of the blasters comes with its own bullet effect. And one of them even then comes with, I think both of them. You can use this in both of them, but the smoking gun, smoking blaster. And there's the tiny little blaster one right there. Yeah, and then you get all those different hands. A+, as far as I'm concerned, A+ on accessories. Everything came in this bag, which was inside the stand. So now I'm going to just quickly show you how I'm going to keep this all wrapped up to prevent this from happening on those other heads, which again, I think this was a QC and not my own doing. But I'm going to still show you how I'm going to protect these up. So to keep those heads protected, what I'm going to do for the short term, because I will keep the accessories all together in the officially branded Judge Dredd stand tray, is I'm going to keep all the hands and weapons down here. I'm then going to roll this up and then add the heads so that if anything, they'll only just be bouncing around with one another, and then I'm going to fold that over, push the air out, and boom, that is going to live in there, and those heads shouldn't have any other issues moving forward. Comparison time. All right, so I know that scaling is always so important, especially when it comes to 112, and I did have a hit of disappointment when I took him out of the box and realized he's the tiniest. He's like a true 112 scale. So when you see him next to Mezco Casey Jones, everything's just a tiny bit smaller. Again, very much in an SHF way when it comes to true 112 scale. That is going to mean that big boys like Toddy Max and Mattel figures, there's no way, unless you really want to get creative with your photography and forced perspective. Otherwise, I mean, you see that looks so absolutely goofy. So let's get Todd out of there. We have another Casey Jones in the house. So to show you what he looks like with some NECA human figures, at least. So there's Mirage Casey matched up with Mezco Casey. Still big like that. This Casey Jones has a massive head. So yeah, that's still not great. It's keeping with the turtle theme. Now those guys play real well. I mean, look at that. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some Mezco, TMNT, and Judge Dredd stuff. That looks so cool. That is definitely neat. So love that. And if Mezco turtles aren't in your collection, here is one of the NECA Toon Ninja Turtles. This is obviously the Punk Donatello. So definitely Dredd can work with any of the Ninja Turtles just based on their scaling. So that's really great. Why not? There is Odious himself from Unparalleled Universe. As we know, Odious is a larger figure anyway. All right, and to close things out, there's my man Deadpool, there's Hydra Bob, there's Odious. You really get to see the full scope of the lines now. And again, just for poops and chuckles, there's Toddy just towering over everybody. But yeah, Marvel Legends seem to work pretty well. Still big though. Still big. Again, this is a pure, true 112 scale, but I do think that everybody here can absolutely work with Dredd. Again, I know the scale is a little tricky, but just looking at all the figures in front of us right now, you can get them to play. Again, Deadpool, it's just a little bit bigger than Dredd, but this Dredd figure is really rad and it's forgivable. All the pros of this figure are definitely going to outweigh the cons. And really, my only worry is not in the photography sense. I think I can make all of this work and look rad. So at the end of the day, my only question is really going to be the longevity of this figure in terms of how the material holds up. But all the other aspects, loving these rubber boots, easy to swap the hands. I'm very happy that I picked this guy up. Plus, when I look at him and pick him up, it reminds me of a really fun moment from San Diego Comic-Con. I'm super pumped about it. I think you would enjoy it if you're a fan of the character. I did try to point out as many of the potential flaws or issues with it that I could, but at the end of the day, what a cool figure. Very happy. It does lead me to want to look into their Rambo line of 112, but I am super excited for whatever Hiya Toys is going to be coming out with next, especially in the 112 scale range. And thank you so much for checking out this video. And I just had to tell you that you are specifically watching this Judge Dredd review thanks to my channel members. So if you want to join the fun, become a citizen of Yambonia, and you will be able to vote in weekly polls, and I am locked in. So whatever my citizens of Yambonia want, that's what I'm gonna give them. If there is continued interest, there are going to be more tiers and more fun ways to connect with one another. But thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch me talk and mess around with an action figure. I hope it's helping you make an informed buying decision. And just so you know, every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go live to talk about life and toys. So I hope to see you in the chat one of these days. But in the meantime, have a great rest of yours now. Purrs.